Welcome back to What the Flick. I'm Matt Atchity. That's Christy Lemire. That's Alonso Duralde. Alonso Duralde of TheWrap.com. And there's an explosive report coming out of The Wrap that dropped this weekend talking about how a study of the films planned in the next year or so from the 6 major studios has a shockingly, disappointingly low number.
But are we shocked? Really?
Yes, we are shocked.
Disappointed.
This report.
I'm
so hang on. Let me finish. Let me finish.
Okay.
Shocked and disappointed that of the movies coming out in the next year or so from the major studios, only 3% of those women or of those movies are going to be directed by women. Now, this is awful. Right?
No question. I'm cynical, so I'm not shocked because Hollywood has done such an awful job at this for so long on the studio level of including women behind the camera that when I saw this, sort of like shocker. I was like, it's not really that shocking, unfortunately, and that speaks well on the history of the industry. But yes, 3% of the films being released by the big 6.
By the big 6 studios, that includes
Which will
Universal,
be 5 if Disney gets to own Fox.
So it's Universal, Sony, Disney, Fox, Paramount, and Warner Brothers. This is the lowest amount of female directors in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
But they're not counting the specialty arms of those studios. They're not counting Fox Searchlight. They're not counting that.
Well, and I would argue that that's fair not to count them because why would we relegate female directors to the specialty arms that get platform releases and aren't getting the major releases, right?
Well, no, they should be doing the Wonder Womans. They should be doing all that kind of stuff.
There's a case to be made though that look, last night's Best Picture winner was a Fox Searchlight release. Like the special divisions aren't necessarily just the little tiny out to the hinterlands whatever, but it is there's been a lot of talk and not a lot of action, and so I hope that for all the Greta Gerwig getting to say on the Oscars, go make your film, we need you to make your film, that not only do more women step up to make those films, but that they find a place to who's going to pay them to make them. I mean, there are a ton of women out there who are making great independent films, and there's still this ridiculous glass ceiling when it comes to studio filming.
Right. So this weekend we have Wrinkle in Time coming out.
Right. So I want to put these numbers in perspective. Right. There are 90 films coming out in 2018 from the 6 major studios. Disney is releasing Wrinkle in Time this weekend, directed by Ava DuVernay. The other 11 movies they're releasing this year are all directed by men. Fox has 1 movie directed by a woman. The other 12 are directed by men. Universal has 1 movie directed by a woman. The other 18 directed by men. Sony and Paramount and Warner Brothers are releasing respectively 15 films, 9 films, 22 films. None of them have female directors.
It's amazing.
It's
amazing. I mean, it's going to take years for the success of Wonder Woman to catch up? Is that what it is? That it takes so many years of planning that that was just last year, so maybe in 4 years we'll have more blockbusters? I wrote a story when I was still with the Associated Press. I wrote a story over 10 years ago about the dearth of women who have been nominated for Oscars. At that point, it was only 3. And the dearth of women in the DGA membership, and it's not better. Well, what has to happen to turn this giant ship around?
What's really depressing is that we've seen women running studios for quite a while now.
People who make the decisions.
Yes, you had Sherry Lansing at Paramount. You've had Amy Pascal at Sony, at Disney. There was blanking on the name.
Right, but Amy Pascal's not still at Sony.
No, I understand that, but I'm just saying,
for years.
when they weren't moving the ship much.
Yeah. Well, but they're not anymore, right?
I understand that, but I'm saying this is a historical progression, and those women being in those positions of power did not significantly change what this progression has been. It's not like there were all these women directing movies under them while they were at the studio, and now that they're gone, it's reverted back to the old way. This has been an ongoing thing, and having women in the executive suite didn't change that, and I find that really depressing.
No, I think we have to have more than just 1 woman at the executive suite at one position and have
Nina Jacobson. That was
right. I think it's a bigger issue, right? I think that we talked a little bit before about diversity writers. Inclusion writers. Inclusion writers, not writers. It's an issue, right? It continues to be an issue. It never ceases to amaze me that every time you look at what the MPAA reports about who the movie-going audience is, 52% of the movie-going audience that makes the decisions about buying tickets are women, and yet it's overwhelmingly movies directed by men, and it's just like the disconnect there is shocking.
Well, this weekend, for example, we had Red Sparrow, right?
Right.
A movie about a strong woman, clearly directed by and written by a man, right?
Yes.
A man's idea of what a woman sounds like, what sort of choices she would make. I know it's based on a book.
By a man.
By a man. There you go.
Right. So I think, what we want to see is we want to see more stories get greenlit. I mean, it goes back to what Frances McDormand was talking about in her acceptance speech for best performance by an actress. We need to see these stories from women. We need to see those scripts get the green light. They need to get funded. We need to see women come out of film festivals and get the consistent amount of opportunities that the dudes that come out of film festivals get.
Yeah, for years I've had the line about how if you're a guy who makes a fairly successful Sundance movie, they will hand you the keys to, Jurassic Park or whatever the big studio franchises are. And if you're a woman who makes a moderately successful film at Sundance, maybe you can get a gig doing episodic at HBO, maybe. And there are some shows I think that are being really forward about this, like Unreal has all women directors, and Jessica Jones has all women directors, and Queen Sugar has all women of color directors. And I think that's making a difference, and that's giving opportunities for talented people to have more on their resume when they want to, when they get that studio meeting finally. But yeah, here's the thing. Again, this is, as Nanjani says, this is about economics. These movies make money, or they can make money, or they can make they are as likely to make money as a movie directed by a white guy is. I mean, it's all a crapshoot, obviously. But as a film goer who is a white guy, I love to see movies about women where I feel like I'm privy to conversations that they aren't having around me. I love to see movies about black people or Asian people or just any ethnicity that isn't mine, where I feel like I'm getting to hear conversations that aren't being held around me. That's what I love about movies. That's what's exciting about the experience of going to films and learning other people's stories.